Jill Berman, a 19-year-old student at Indiana University, vanished on May 31, 2000, during a morning bicycle ride that commenced in Bloomington. On that fateful morning, she departed from her parents' residence in Hyde Park for a brief ride before her work shift. An adept cyclist, Jill failed to arrive for her noon shift and was also expected to join her father and grandfather for a late lunch, which she missed. The following day, her parents reported her missing, prompting an extensive search and media campaign. Her family generously offered a $25,000 reward for any leads regarding her disappearance. Investigators theorized that Jill had cycled south of town, a notion supported by the discovery of a white water bottle matching one she carried, along with eyewitness accounts. One witness claimed to have seen Jill at 9:38 a.m., yet this report raised questions, as police confirmed she had logged off her email at 9:32 a.m., making it improbable for her to reach that location in just 6 minutes. Additionally, search dogs did not detect her scent in that area. A former classmate reported seeing her on Harold Road, close to where the water bottle was found. Another witness described a young woman resembling Jill riding north of the bike dump site near Paton's Hayfield Gate on North Maple Grove Road around 10 a.m. Police verified Jill's presence in that vicinity, as a search dog had picked up her scent. A third witness noted a white commercial van, identified as a Ford, near North Maple Grove Road at approximately 8:30 a.m., claiming it contained 2 men. This van was seen again at 9 a.m., with the witness suggesting it might have been a Bloomington hospital vehicle. At that time, police did not give the van much consideration, as they believed Jill was still at home, logged into her email. A subsequent report emerged from a witness who recounted seeing a bicycle abandoned on the eastern side of North Maple Grove Road, close to the junction of North and West Maple Grove Roads, just before noon that fateful day. The witness informed the authorities that the resident of the trailer home at 1465 West Maple Grove Road was John Myers, who had all his blinds drawn that day, a behavior the witness insisted was out of character for him. Notably, John had parked his vehicle in an unusual location, prompting the witness to inquire about the change. John's curt response was that he preferred solitude. This interaction led the police to seek him out for questioning regarding the mysterious disappearance of Jill. Upon their arrival, they identified the bicycle as belonging to Jill. Investigations revealed that John was employed at the Bloomington Hospital warehouse and occasionally drove a white Ford van. He claimed to have been on vacation from May 29th to June 2nd, although he spent the majority of that time at home. He had intended to travel, with Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, being one of the destinations, but his girlfriend had canceled their plans shortly before their departure due to their breakup. The police reviewed his phone records and inquired about several calls made from his trailer on the day Jill vanished. John insisted that his mother had made those calls, attributing his own lack of communication to feelings of depression, with his mother seeking distractions for him in light of the breakup. The authorities also interviewed his ex-girlfriend, Carly Goodman, who confirmed their past relationship but stated that they had never made any travel arrangements. On June 5th, John spoke with the police once more, expressing his concern for the missing girl and his fear that others might suspect his involvement. He lamented that he often found himself unjustly blamed when misfortune struck. He presented yet another intriguing assertion to the authorities, revealing his awareness that Jill's body had not been discovered and suggesting that, by this time, she was likely deceased. The Federal Bureau of Investigation entered the search effort on June 6th. On June 26th, police interrogated John's grandmother, who recounted that on the day Jill vanished, he had called her requesting a loan, insisting she deliver the money to him due to police roadblocks near his residence, as he was considered a suspect and preferred not to leave his home. The following month, the Federal Bureau of Investigation turned their attention to John's father, observing his evident nervousness during the inquiry. However, he did not provide any information deemed suspicious. In August, authorities spoke with John's brother, Samuel, who disclosed that his 12-gauge shotgun, stored at their father's house, was missing. A colleague of John's reported that he had expressed curiosity about whether the police would search a barn located on a certain road. Furthermore, John allegedly mentioned to this co-worker that he was aware of an ideal location to dispose of a body and claimed to know someone in Florida who possessed Jill's identification and checkbook. The reward for information leading to Jill's whereabouts escalated to $50,000. Investigators began to entertain a new theory that Jill had cycled north of town, where John, spotting her from his home, acted out of rage stemming from a breakup with another woman, abducting Jill and ultimately taking her life. On April 18, 2001, police speculated that Jill might have fallen victim to a hit-and-run, with the perpetrator concealing her body. By May 2001, the reward had increased to $100,000. Shortly thereafter, John approached the Federal Bureau of Investigation, claiming he had discovered a pair of women's underwear and a small fragment of bone in a creek while fishing. On March 22, 2002, Wendy Owings confessed to a Federal Bureau of Investigation agent, implicating herself, Alicia Evans, and a third individual, Uriah Klaus. Owings disclosed that she and her two companions were responsible for the tragic demise of Jill. She recounted that Uriah was at the wheel when he struck Jill with the vehicle, after which all three exited the car and inflicted multiple stab wounds to her chest. Following this horrific act, Owings stated they encased Jill's body in plastic sheets, secured it with bungee cords, and disposed of it in Salt Creek. The day after her confession, investigators initiated a search of Salt Creek, the site Owings indicated as the resting place for Jill's remains. However, this search was abruptly halted due to flooding and resumed in July and August 2002 once the waters receded. During these efforts, a substantial piece of industrial plastic was uncovered, aligning with Owings' description. On September 9, 2002, a significant section of Salt Creek was drained as part of the investigation, revealing another sheet of industrial plastic, a bungee cord, and a knife, all consistent with the items Owings had mentioned. Unfortunately, the search concluded without the recovery of Jill's remains. When confronted by authorities, Owings retracted her confession, prompting the police to pursue the other two suspects. They located Uriah Klaus in Brown County Jail, where he was serving time for battery, and he asserted his innocence regarding Jill Berman's disappearance. The police were unable to trace Alicia Evans. On March 27, 2002, John Myers, incarcerated in Monroe County Jail on unrelated charges, informed a correctional officer about some letters he had discovered while cleaning food trays. He claimed these notes pertained to Jill's case and expressed a desire to assist, providing the officer with a list of potential locations where her body might be found, contingent upon his release for the search. On March 9, 2003, human remains were uncovered by two hunters in the woods north of Bloomington, near the intersection of Warren and Duckworth Roads in Morgan County, approximately 20 miles from where Jill's bicycle had been located. They recovered about half of a human skeleton, with the other half still unaccounted for. The authorities uncovered no signs indicating that the individual had suffered from stabbing or beating. However, they did discover a shotgun shell wad at the scene, along with 380 number 8-shot lead pellets, which were likely discharged from a 12-gauge shotgun. On March 13th, the police revealed that the skeletal remains belonged to Jill Berman, with the cause of death identified as a shotgun blast to the back of her head. It was confirmed that the location of the remains was indeed the site of her tragic demise. She had not been murdered elsewhere and subsequently transported there. On April 9, 2006, Myers was apprehended and charged with Jill's murder. He made his initial court appearance at the Morgan County Courthouse on April 11th, facing charges of homicide. Although his trial was originally scheduled for July, it was postponed until October 16th and spanned 12 days. Despite the absence of physical evidence linking him to the crime, he was convicted of Jill's murder and sentenced to 65 years in prison. He later appealed, asserting that his legal representation during the trial was inadequate and that his defense team had been negligent. The following year, another appeal was initiated on his behalf, leading to a 5-year wait for an evidentiary hearing. In May 2013, Myers' appeal was ultimately denied. In November of that same year, his legal team sought recourse in federal courts, which took 6 years to address. In 2019, the court acknowledged that his legal counsel had performed inadequately, resulting in harm to Myers due to their errors. In April 2021, the United States Supreme Court declined to review the case. Following his initial conviction, the Indiana Court of Appeals determined that Myers had not sufficiently demonstrated that the testimony and evidence presented were false, or that the state was aware of any falsehoods. Myers sought the establishment of a new trial, asserting that state investigators had previously neglected to disclose over 8,000 pages of documents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Bloomington Police Department pertinent to the inquiries surrounding Jill's disappearance. He contended that a significant portion of these documents contained investigative insights that could affirm his innocence. However, without access to this evidence, Myers was unable to pinpoint any specific item that the state had allegedly withheld, leaving the court unable to ascertain whether such evidence would be advantageous to his defense or pertinent to the trial. The district court noted that these challenges persist, and although Myers enumerated particular evidence he deemed relevant and beneficial, it was not presented before the Indiana courts at that time, rendering it inadmissible for consideration. In October 2023, a judge from the United States District Court for the Southern District of Indiana denied Myers' petition for a new trial. Currently, Myers is incarcerated at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City, with the possibility of parole in 2037. On the fateful morning of December 29, 1991, the lifeless form of 36-year-old Kim Ancona was discovered on the floor of the men's restroom at the CBS Restaurant and Lounge in Phoenix, Arizona, where she served as the night manager. A devoted single mother, Kim's tragic end unfolded shortly after the bar's owner arrived to open for the day. Upon entering, he was met with a horrifying scene. Kim lay naked in a pool of blood, her body marred by 6 stab wounds to her neck and back. Her clothing was strewn about, accompanied by several wooden shims that had been repurposed as doorstops. The brutality of the attack was evident, with her body bearing numerous wounds and distinct bite marks. One of the bloodied pieces of wood had been used as a weapon, having been inserted into her body during the assault. Former defense attorney Chris Plaud recounted the excruciating suffering Kim endured. The crime scene was rife with evidence, including hair strands and a shoe print, yet the detectives faced challenges in drawing definitive conclusions due to contamination from numerous individuals who had entered the area. A large boning knife, seemingly sourced from the bar's kitchen, was discovered in a bin, its 8-inch blade bent. As detectives endeavored to reconstruct the events of that night, they surmised that Kim had been tidying up when she was brutally attacked. Robbery was dismissed as a motive, given that her bag remained untouched behind the bar and the cash register was still full. A post-mortem examination revealed critical details. The size and shape of the teeth that left the distinctive bite marks were meticulously analyzed, indicating that the assailant likely had crooked teeth. This led to the moniker the Snaggletooth Perpetrator, as investigators shifted their focus to individuals within Kim's circle. Kim, recently divorced, had been entangled in a romantic liaison with Ray Crone, who soon emerged as the primary suspect, as she had confided in friends about their relationship. His name was inscribed in her address book, a detail that would not go unnoticed. Crone, a mailman and a former member of the U.S. Air Force, possessed non-aligned teeth, a crucial element in the unfolding investigation. Despite witnesses asserting otherwise, Crone vehemently denied any involvement with Kim. He presented an alibi for the night of her assault, yet detectives proceeded to search his residence. Although they found no incriminating evidence, they collected his fingerprints and DNA for further analysis. In a peculiar twist, Crone was instructed to bite into a piece of styrofoam, allowing for a comparison with the bite marks discovered on Kim's body. On New Year's Eve in 1991, he was arrested and charged with murder, kidnapping, and assault. 10 months post Kim's tragic death, his trial commenced, featuring dentist Dr. Raymond Rawson as a key witness. Dr. Rawson asserted that the bite marks on Kim's body were indeed Crone's, a claim that became the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. The jury swiftly reached a verdict, condemning Crone to death in 1992. He languished on death row until 1996, when a new trial was granted. Advances in DNA technology revealed that the saliva, hair, and fingerprints collected from the crime scene did not match Crone. Nevertheless, Dr. Rawson returned to testify, maintaining that the bite marks were his. Once again, Crone was found guilty. It wasn't until 2002 when a new law allowed Arizona inmates to request DNA testing on evidence used against them that Crone was afforded another opportunity. This time, the evidence yielded a DNA match, one that did not belong to Crone but to Kenneth Phillips, a local man with a history of violence, residing a mere 600 yards from the bar where the assault occurred. Phillips found himself incarcerated just 30 days following the tragic incident, facing a separate charge. He acknowledged his presence at the bar that fateful night, though his recollections were hazy. What lingered in his mind was the surge of anger he felt when he was cut off from service. The evidence against him was compelling, leading him to plead guilty on August 18, 2006, resulting in a formidable 53-year sentence for both assault and murder. Initially, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office pursued the death penalty. However, they ultimately withdrew their request in light of mitigating evidence presented by the defense. In a parallel narrative, Ray Crone, aged 45 at the time, was fully exonerated and released from prison on April 8, 2002. He dedicated his newfound freedom to advocating against the death penalty through the nonprofit organization Witness to Innocence, engaging with schools and various groups. In 2005, he received a substantial settlement of $1.4 million from Maricopa County and an additional $3 million from the city of Phoenix. Despite being labeled the snaggletooth perpetrator, he had never taken a life, yet endured 3 harrowing years of isolation in a stark 6 by 8 foot concrete cell, devoid of human contact in the unforgiving Arizona desert. Ray vividly recalls the moment the judge's gavel struck, declaring, "You are free to go," a day forever etched in his memory. Kim's mother was present in the courtroom that April day, and he can still picture her, tears streaming down her face as she approached him with her cane. Ray reflected, "I was acutely aware of the animosity she harbored towards me, and justifiably so, under the impression that I was the one at fault." He elaborated, "There she stood, a delicate figure approaching me, tears streaming down her face, uttering, 'Mr. Crone, I must extend my sincerest apologies. I am truly sorry for what you endured. I understand the pain of loss. I lost my daughter, and your mother endured a decade without you. Please find it in your heart to forgive me. I only trusted what I was told." Ray recounted, "I responded, 'Madam, there is no need for that. As you mentioned, you were simply led to believe what you were told.'" He noted that this poignant exchange with Kim's mother marked the first occasion he could express his condolences. In the serene town of Grand Blanc, Michigan, 31-year-old Shannon Daniel Houlihan resided with his mother, providing her with care following a stroke she had endured. Employed as a computer programmer for the Kmart Corporation in the nearby city of Troy, Shannon was known among his friends for his warm-hearted nature and zest for life. On the morning of May 27, 1998, around 9 a.m., his mother began reaching out to some of his friends, concerned as he had not returned home the previous night and had failed to call, a behavior that was uncharacteristic of him. The situation escalated when his employer contacted his friends, noting his absence from work that day, further heightening their worries. As the day unfolded, Shannon's friends dedicated themselves to searching for him. Their efforts culminated around 5 p.m. when they discovered him at Hurley Medical Center, identified only as a John Doe. Earlier that morning at approximately 8:30, the owner of the Empress of China restaurant found Shannon unconscious behind the establishment. He was discovered partially clothed, wearing merely a t-shirt, and had sustained multiple traumatic injuries to the back of his head. After lingering in a coma for several days, Shannon succumbed to his injuries on May 30th. The last confirmed sighting of Shannon alive was in the early hours of the 27th in the parking lot of a nearby gay bar, where he was known to meet men he had encountered. Just before departing, he was seen conversing with a white man on a mountain bike, described by witnesses as average in appearance and height, with age estimates ranging from 15 to 35, though later accounts suggested he was around 30 and riding a white bicycle. Shannon's prized possession, a white 1994 Chevrolet Corvette, mysteriously vanished and has never been recovered. It would take 26 long years before justice was sought in connection with Shannon's tragic murder. On October 10th, 2024, the Flint Police Department revealed that 53-year-old Eric Dukes, hailing from Metamora, Michigan, has been formally charged with felony murder and carjacking in relation to the tragic case of Shannon. Should he be found guilty, he faces the possibility of a life sentence without the chance of parole. Genesee County Prosecutor David Layton indicated that Shannon's murder is believed to have been motivated by hate, stemming from Shannon's identity as a member of the LGBTQ+ community. Unfortunately, the prosecution cannot proceed under hate crime statutes, as the state's intimidation laws were not enacted at the time of Shannon's death. In a progressive move, the Flint City Council allocated a portion of their American Rescue Plan Act funds in early 2023 to establish a cold case investigation unit, which has also received support from a grant. Notably, Shannon's case marks the inaugural arrest made by this newly formed unit. Dukes came to the attention of investigators through a Crime Stoppers tip linked to an unrelated case. He had recently been apprehended for the unlawful operation of a vehicle, specifically an ambulance. This arrest allowed authorities to obtain his DNA, which subsequently matched the genetic material discovered beneath Shannon's fingernails. Investigators surmised that this DNA was transferred during Shannon's desperate struggle to fend off his assailant. In a poignant Facebook announcement regarding the arrest, the Flint Police Department emphasized that even seemingly trivial tips can pave the way for justice and solace for families enduring the pain of loss, regardless of how much time has passed.